Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Wistaeia and I hope you are well. This evening, well, I say it's evening, but really it's 3 a.m. in the morning, as this is the quietest time of my days. It's surprisingly busy tonight, and it's also raining, so you may hear some sounds in the background. Some hopefully ambient sounds, perhaps the sound of the rain hitting my window pane, or the sound of vehicles driving past my window. Tonight I find myself thinking about the concept of lines. Not lines as in horizontal, vertical, or diagonal ones, but more a boundary of some sort. I feel that almost everything has one, and at times it may be obvious, but I believe most of the time it isn't. I've come across many people who don't seem to understand the idea of boundaries nowadays. This line of thought actually stemmed from a conversation I overheard between two people in the supermarket today. One of them seemed to be joking with the second. The reason I say seemed to be joking is because the first person was pointing out things that the second person did not seem happy about. They were pointing out things about their appearance, and it very well could have been bantering, considering the first person's light and teasing tone. However, the second person's expression strongly suggested otherwise. In that moment, I was aware of a few things. The first was that the first person's voice was very loud. The next being that I was merely a stranger and observer. The third is that the line between a joke and an insult is very fine. And this third point really lingered in my mind. Throughout my life, I have heard many lines followed up by the phrase, "just kidding," or some sort of variation of it. I'd chance a guess that even you've heard your fair share of just kiddings. For some reason, it's expected to take the weight off of a scathing comment or a backhanded remark, and while it may actually be a joke in many cases, there are bound to be some remarks that have a more profound effect and, let's say, sinister intention. Personally, I think the line between a joke and an insult can be a complex thing, as humans are complex creatures. We can't see what someone's intention is. We can only assume or make educated guesses based on their facial expression, body language, the tone or inflections of their voice. Ultimately, I think the only person who will know what the true intention is would be the person who makes the remark. On the other hand, it will be the person the remark is directed at. There are two opinions to consider, perhaps more if it is in a public setting and involves those who surround them, but these opinions will be based on each person's emotions and attitude at the time. When I think of emotions, I tend to compare them to a body of water. It could be the sea, a lake, a pond, or even a pool. I know I am probably not the first person to use the sea or a pool as an analogy for emotions, but it seems fitting. It seems appropriate, as there is a clear line between simply being in the deep and drowning in it. Let's say a pool, for example. Usually it has a shallow end that gradually increases in depth the further you go. And depending on how affected I feel by a certain emotion, that depth of water I am figuratively in will change. The more I am emotionally affected, the deeper the depth. So the line between being in the deep or drowning will be whether I can swim and keep myself afloat. So, in other words, I would say the line or the differentiation between floating and drowning in the deep end would be whether I am able to swim. Honestly, I don't know where this thought came from. I'm a little lost. I'm not very good at explaining myself most of the time. This felt very analytical and a lot more clinical than I thought it would, while simultaneously sounding very garbled and not exactly what I wanted to say. But again, it is that time. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be here, and thank you for listening. Take care, and I hope you'll visit again. Until next time.